rapper Snoop Dogg now facing allegations of sexual assault and battery just days before he's set to perform at the massive halftime show for the game.
I was fighting a murder case, and he was out on bail from his case. So naturally, we look like America's Most Wanted.
Were you ever afraid of being on death row sometimes?
Never. I was afraid when I wasn't on death row.
Right. Explain.
Because it was death threats, it was like where they was coming to get at me.
At 53 years old, Snoop Dogg finally finds himself at the center of the conversations he once tried to avoid. From Long Beach streets to global superstardom, his rise has been marked by triumphs and legal battles, sexual assault allegations, and headline-making feuds that shook the industry.
Finding defendant McKinley Lee not guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree in violation of Penal Code Section 187, a felony, is charged in count 1 of the information. Dated February 13, 1996.
From the 1993 murder trial that could have ended his career, to public backlash over his comments on LGBTQ plus representation and disputes with record labels that fueled industry tension, his fame has never come without fallout.
Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. Just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey man, watch the movie. So it's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now.
In this video, we explore Snoop Dogg's darkest chapters, the scandals fans remember, and the truths he can no longer hide. In 2005, Snoop Dogg's polished image as a hip-hop superstar was suddenly rattled by headlines that spread across newspapers and TV stations. A woman named Kylie Bell came forward, filing a lawsuit against him, NBC, and others. She claimed that during his appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, she was subjected to misconduct and mistreatment connected to Snoop's entourage. The story wasn't just about the courtroom, it was about timing. Snoop had just started branching out of music and deeper into mainstream television, endorsements, and family-friendly appearances. He was no longer just the rapper from Long Beach, he was a global brand. And suddenly, that brand was on trial in the public eye. The lawsuit was explosive. The woman alleged not only harassment, but also that she was drugged, humiliated, and threatened. Fans were divided. Some said Snoop was being targeted because of his fame and money, while others couldn't ignore the disturbing claims. Snoop Dogg, however, fought back. He denied the accusations, calling the entire lawsuit a setup designed to extort him. His legal team filed countersuits, framing the case as an attack on his reputation.
That case, pretty much went to the wayside. Do you think this is a common trend that you see, that people are just clout chasing now, these celebrities, rather than it being some real accusation?
The internet, still in its early stages of celebrity gossip, lit up with heated debates. Forums, blogs, and hip-hop message boards carried headlines like, "Did Snoop go too far?" and "Another rapper facing career-ending charges." What made the moment even bigger was how public Snoop's personal life had become. He was on TV with his wife and kids in the reality show, Snoop Dogg's Fatherhood, just 2 years later. But here, in 2005, he was fighting allegations that painted the complete opposite of a family man. The legal battle dragged on, but Snoop's camp managed to gain control of the narrative. Eventually, parts of the lawsuit were dismissed, and the case didn't end with criminal charges. Still, the damage was done. For many, this was the first major reminder that Snoop Dogg's public charm didn't erase the controversies that followed him from the beginning.
As far as the allegations, I have no comment.
Last time we had you here, we talked about T.I., and I seen you on the show last year, and Tiny, we asked you about that, and then we found out a few months ago that they dropped the charges.
Looking back, some fans argue this lawsuit opened the door for a pattern of accusations and rumors that would trail Snoop for years to come. Others saw it as just another moment where a celebrity was targeted for money. Either way, in 2005, Snoop Dogg's world changed. The first big storm had hit, and it wouldn't be the last. By the early 2000s, Snoop Dogg wasn't just a rapper. He was becoming a businessman, and one of his most controversial moves was stepping into the adult film industry. In 2001, he shocked fans by announcing his involvement in a project called Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style, produced with Hustler.
My style was imperative to everything that I was doing as far as my rap style, my look, my whole style in general. So it was dope because it gave you a X-rated feel.
This wasn't just Snoop lending his name. He acted as the host of the film, appearing in skits, music performances, and even narrating scenes, while adult stars performed explicit acts around him. The move was bold, and it blurred the line between hip-hop trend and business exploitation. Many fans saw it as just Snoop being Snoop, living up to the doggy-style brand he had built since his debut album in 1993. But critics called it a dangerous turn. They said it glorified unhealthy power dynamics and dragged hip-hop into a place of open sexual exploitation. Some even claimed that Snoop's involvement gave the adult industry new visibility among young rap fans.
It opened some criticism on how could he have an album cover that looks like this, and there's a woman bent over and it's referring to the content inside of it.
The venture was profitable, and that was exactly Snoop's intention. The DVD went platinum in sales, and the partnership with Hustler turned him into one of the first mainstream rappers to directly profit from adult entertainment. It wasn't long before he doubled down with other projects, like Snoop Dogg's Hustler's Diary of a Pimp in 2002. But the backlash grew. Advocacy groups accused Snoop of promoting exploitation. Some music critics said he had gone too far, crossing from edgy artistry into pimp culture glorification.
We got to Doggy Style, it was more about, I know what this dude is about, I know what his album should be about. It should be some pimp, extraordinary, fly, dope rap, hardcore.
For many parents, this was no longer just about music. It was about whether Snoop Dogg was becoming a dangerous influence on kids. The controversy deepened because Snoop often spoke publicly about being a husband and father.
You guys have like the most hilarious family I've ever seen. First of all, what's neck?
Neck.
So why do you say neck though?
So because you want to rip her neck.
Well, what if I didn't say nothing stupid? I didn't think it was stupid.
In interviews, he described wanting to be a role model. Yet, here he was, smiling on the covers of adult DVDs. The contradiction fueled gossip columns and split his fan base. Financially, Snoop came out on top, but socially, he was now cemented as one of the most polarizing figures in hip-hop. Fans began labeling him a pimp rapper, not just because of his lyrics, but because of his business choices. Even today, many internet discussions about Snoop's legacy point back to these hustler deals as proof of how far he was willing to go for profit. What's important is how these ventures shaped the narrative around Snoop. They made every later accusation, lawsuit, or rumor carry more weight. Once you step into the adult industry, people never forget it, and Snoop Dogg, willingly or not, tied his name to that world forever. From the very beginning of his career, Snoop Dogg's lyrics set him apart. His 1993 debut album, Doggy Style, wasn't just a hip-hop classic. It was also loaded with raw language about sex, women, and power. Songs like Ain't No Fun. If the Homies Can't Have None became anthems in clubs, but they also drew sharp criticism. Women's groups, church leaders, and even political commentators accused Snoop of normalizing the degradation of women.
The steamroller was in fact what any good parent who was opposed to the filth in some of these records would do. They take these things from their children and throw them in the garbage can.
Through the years, Snoop defended his art. He argued that his music was simply a reflection of the world he grew up in, not a personal attack. But interviews and public statements sometimes told a different story. He proudly embraced the pimp persona, often wearing fur coats, gold chalices, and openly calling himself Big Boss Dog. For many fans, it was entertainment. For others, it was proof that he lived the lifestyle he rapped about. The controversy didn't stop in the 90s. In the 2000s and beyond, Snoop continued to make comments that fueled debate. In one interview, he joked about his loyalty to strip clubs. In another, he defended his participation in the adult film industry as just hustling. Critics said his words reinforced a culture that normalized exploitation. Supporters said it was harmless branding.
Reverend Butts ain't got no love for us. You know what I'm saying? And it shouldn't be like that, especially if he's a preacher. You're supposed to counsel us.
Social media amplified everything. By the 2000s, every comment Snoop made became a headline. When he publicly insulted female artists like Iggy Azalea, calling her names and mocking her appearance, the backlash was instant. Fans accused him of hypocrisy. The same man who claimed to support women in his family was tearing down women in his industry. Even within hip-hop, some artists spoke out. Younger rappers said Snoop's words carried weight and influenced fans in ways he couldn't brush off. Internet forums exploded with debates. Is Snoop Dogg just keeping it real, or is he stuck in the past? But despite the criticism, his fan base remained loyal. Every controversy around his words seemed to boost his relevance. By staying unapologetically himself, Snoop kept his name trending. For decades, he mastered the art of turning backlash into free publicity. Yet, the impact of his lyrics and public comments can't be erased. They built the foundation for how fans, critics, and even the courts viewed him whenever more serious accusations came up. Whether it was lawsuits, adult ventures, or family drama, the words in his music and interviews always came back as evidence against him. By the mid-1990s, Snoop Dogg wasn't just a rising star. He was also the face of gangsta rap's most dangerous image. In 1993, just as his debut album Doggy Style was blowing up, his world turned upside down. In 1996, Snoop Dogg and his bodyguard, McKinley Lee, were charged with the murder of Philip Woldemariam, a gang member in Los Angeles. Prosecutors claimed Snoop was driving the car while Lee fired the fatal shot. The case instantly made national headlines.
I was fighting a murder case, and he was out on bail from his case. So naturally, we look like America's Most Wanted.
Snoop's defense was clear. It was in self-defense. They argued that Woldemariam had threatened Snoop's entourage and that Lee only fired because he believed their lives were in danger. For over a year, Snoop faced the possibility of life behind bars, a nightmare that shadowed every move he made. The media frenzy around the trial didn't just focus on the shooting. Commentators painted Snoop as a symbol of gang culture, violence, and hip-hop's dark influence on youth. Every courtroom appearance became a spectacle, with reporters swarming and fans protesting outside. In 1997, the jury delivered its verdict. Snoop Dogg was acquitted. The courtroom erupted in emotion relief for Snoop. Anger from the victim's family. For many fans, it was proof that Snoop was untouchable. For his critics, it was evidence of a broken system.
Find the defendant, McKinley Lee, not guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree in violation of Penal Code Section 187, a felony is charged in count 1 of the information, dated February 13, 1996.
But Snoop's legal troubles didn't end there. Through the late 90s and 2000s, he racked up a long list of drug and firearm arrests. Marijuana possession was the most common charge, but there were more serious incidents too. In 2006, Snoop was arrested at Bob Hope Airport for trying to bring a firearm and marijuana onto a plane. Just months later, at John Wayne Airport, security found a collapsible baton in his bag, a banned weapon under California law.
Rapper Snoop Dogg arrived at a Pasadena, California courthouse Wednesday, greeted by screaming fans and cameras. Inside, he pleaded no contest to felony gun and drug charges.
Then again in 2012, rapper Snoop Dogg was arrested over the weekend after Border Control agents found what they said was an amount of marijuana on his tour bus.
Rapper Snoop Dogg is facing marijuana charges after being arrested at a Texas checkpoint last weekend. The hip-hop star was busted after border agents searched his tour bus.
Then came the international spotlight. In 2015, after a concert in Uppsala, Sweden, police detained Snoop for suspected drug use. Officers claimed he looked under the influence, but when tests came back, prosecutors admitted there wasn't enough evidence. Charges were dropped, but Snoop blasted the arrest as racial profiling. Over time, these run-ins with the law shaped Snoop's reputation. He became the rapper who was always one step away from another courtroom. Each arrest made headlines, each mugshot went viral, and each time, his music sales spiked. Still, behind the bravado, it was clear. The law was a shadow he could never fully escape. From murder charges to marijuana arrests, Snoop's life has always been tangled with the justice system, a constant reminder of the thin line he walked between superstar and inmate. For all his fame and fortune, Snoop Dogg's private life has been marked by pain, heartbreak, and reinvention. Behind the flashy image of the Big Boss Dog, there's a man who's endured deep family struggles and personal loss. The most public of these came in 2004, when Snoop and his high school sweetheart, Shantae Taylor, filed for divorce after years of marriage. The news shocked fans. The couple had 3 children together, and their love story was part of Snoop's public image. Court filings cited irreconcilable differences, and tabloids painted the split as proof that fame had broken another family. But just a year later, the two reconciled, renewing their vows in a private ceremony. Snoop later admitted that his infidelity and lifestyle nearly destroyed his marriage. Even more difficult has been his daughter Corey Broaddus's health battles. Corey was diagnosed with lupus, a lifelong autoimmune disease, at a young age. Her struggles with depression and mental health became public, and in early 2024, she revealed she had suffered a stroke. Snoop stood by her side, sharing messages of support and emphasizing how family came before everything. Fans saw a different side of him. Not the gangster rapper, but a father fighting alongside his daughter.
I'm my dad's twin.
Y'all got your life together, you got a business, whatever you want, manifest it up here.
Loss has also followed Snoop throughout his career. The deaths of close friends and collaborators left scars that never fully healed. When Tupac Shakur was killed in 1996, Snoop spoke openly about the pain of losing someone who had become like a brother. In 2011, Snoop lost another key figure in his life, Nate Dogg. Nate wasn't just a collaborator, he was family, part of the same crew that had built G-Funk from the ground up. At Nate's funeral, Snoop broke down, saying hip-hop would never sound the same without him. And then came the question of identity. In 2012, Snoop shocked the world when he announced he was no longer Snoop Dogg, but Snoop Lion. Inspired by a trip to Jamaica and his embrace of Rastafari culture, he released the reggae album Reincarnated. The transformation was controversial. Fans debated whether it was genuine spiritual growth or just a marketing gimmick. Critics accused him of cultural appropriation, while supporters saw it as an artist evolving beyond gangster rap.
It's not that I want to become Snoop Dogg on a reggae track. I want to bury Snoop Dogg and become Snoop Lion.
Through it all, Snoop has kept moving forward. The reconciled marriage, his daughter's resilience, the grief of losing brothers in music, and his experiments with identity all tell one story. No matter how untouchable he looks on stage, his private life has been a roller coaster of battles that no amount of fame could shield him from. For decades, Snoop Dogg has balanced superstardom with turbulence, and some of the most explosive moments in his career didn't happen in the studio. They came from public feuds, lawsuits, and cultural backlash. One of the longest-running battles was with Suge Knight and Death Row Records. After leaving the label in the late 1990s, Snoop accused Suge of betrayal and financial exploitation.
I left Death Row Records. I signed with No Limit Records, which was the hottest rap label in the industry.
In 2002, he released the diss track Pimp Slapped, directly calling out Knight and accusing him of mismanagement and intimidation. Fans saw it as one of the boldest moves in hip-hop history. Few artists dared to publicly go against Suge at the time.
A day in the life of a rolling 20 crib.
Snoop also found himself in cultural firestorms over his comments and social media posts. In 2014, he went after rapper Iggy Azalea, mocking her with crude memes online. The backlash was swift, with fans and celebrities accusing him of misogyny and bullying. Though he eventually apologized, the moment reminded people that Snoop's humor often crossed into territory that sparked outrage.
Boys and girls, I just got off the phone with my homeboy Tip, the king of Atlanta, and it's officially over. No more bad talk. I apologize.
Legal trouble followed him on stage too. In 2016, during a joint concert with Wiz Khalifa in Camden, New Jersey, disaster struck when a railing collapsed. 17 fans were injured in the fall, and lawsuits soon followed. Snoop and Wiz were both named in the case. After years of legal proceedings, the court eventually cleared them of liability. But the images of terrified fans being carried out on stretchers haunted that tour's legacy.
This is the view from the stage as the front railing collapsed during a Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa concert.
As Snoop transitioned into new ventures, from cooking shows with Martha Stewart to becoming the owner of Death Row Records in 2022, new legal issues arose. One of the most high-profile was the lawsuit from Lydia Harris, who claimed a $107 million judgment from the label had not been paid. She accused Snoop of using the Death Row brand without honoring past debts. The case remains a cloud over his attempt to rebrand the label's legacy.
I own Death Row, so I do what the I want to do.
Even outside of lawsuits, his public statements kept stirring debate. In 2022, he drew criticism for comments about LGBTQ representation in the Disney film Lightyear. After watching it with his grandson, he said he was caught off guard by the same-sex couple featured in the movie. The internet quickly accused him of being insensitive. Though he later clarified, saying he wanted to learn and do better, the controversy showed how carefully every word from Snoop gets dissected.
Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. I just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey man, watch the movie. It's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now.
At 53, Snoop Dogg remains one of the most recognizable names in music. But his career has been anything but smooth. From feuds with Suge Knight to lawsuits, from railing collapses to backlash over his words, Snoop has shown that superstardom comes with constant fire. And yet, through every scandal and courtroom battle, he's managed to stay on top, a survivor in an industry where most don't last.